Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all. This movie is a horror film from France, French language English subs, released in the year 2023, directed by Sebastian Vanacek, and this film is called Infested. So Infested takes place in a very rundown apartment complex in France. We have an adult brother and sister who are living together in a very rundown apartment. The apartment used to be owned by the mother, who has since passed away. The brother wants to keep on to the apartment for memories, but the sister wants to sell it and make a better life for themselves. And so the brother is going to try and convince the sister by making money and repairing it and making ends meet. But it's going to be a lot harder, easier said than done. So he also has a side project of exotic animals. He collects these animals in his room, snakes, scorpions, things that he can really connect to more than he can actually connect to humans. So he's a very lonesome sort of individual, but he's going to try his best to make life better. So then one morning he is sold a spider. It's a mysterious spider. He doesn't know what type it is. He doesn't know whether or not it's venomous, but he has a captivating quality to it that makes him want to own it. So he takes it back to his room, he puts it in a shoebox until he can build a habitat for it, but unfortunately the spider escapes the shoebox, and this is the beginning of the reign of terror. So what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Infested. My expectations coming into this movie were very, very reserved. This is a film that is about spiders, and unfortunately the spider subgenre is very similar to the shark subgenre, that it's not taken very seriously, that it's kind of like a parody of its own, and it's a missed opportunity because there are primal fears of snakes, spiders, sharks. But unfortunately, not capitalising upon that, I couldn't help but feel as though many times in the past I've been let down. So Arachnophobia was a classic in the spider subgenre, and Jaws, the classic in the shark subgenre, but ever since then, it's almost like making fun of itself. And so you've got Eight-Legged Freaks. You also have a movie called Sting from Australia that I thought was a letdown, because yes, they're fun, but I feel as though there's so much potential in there. So coming into Infested, I thought this is going to be another movie that's making fun of itself. It's going to be entertaining as opposed to truly horrific, and so that was my expectations coming into this movie. But after watching Infested, I will say that I was completely wrong. This movie is skin-crawlingly fantastic. I will go as far to say that it was better than Arachnophobia, and that's a big thing to say because that's a classic. A lot of people adore that film. I like that movie, but I just felt as though, although I'm not an arachnophobic, I had a lot more horror watching this film. And so this movie is different to Arachnophobia, but it has that same sense of respect that made it so terrifying. So if you are an arachnophobic, you're not going to like this movie. Myself, I'm not arachnophobic. I'm an Australian, so you have to live with spiders. But I don't like the idea of one crawling up my arm or running all over me while I'm asleep. And this movie knows that, and it plays fantastically well off that. So the fear is there, and I just thought as though it utilised that fear from start to finish. I thought this movie was genuinely scary, but at the same time it had a lot of really good character development. The main character, especially at the start, he's a thug. He's living in this environment that's full of crime, but I genuinely felt he wanted to get out of this environment. So you have that fear factor for himself, and not only himself but his sister, but then after a while you start to gravitate to his friends. And so these characters are really well written out, which creates a lot of fear factor when the spiders come into play. And when the spiders come into play, it's relentless. And it's not a gory film, but it's just that fear of spiders crawling on you. There are some scenes that I thought were expertly crafted to the point where I couldn't take anymore. I was just on the edge of my seat, and I was biting my nails basically because of the fact you're going to have, you see a spider, you don't want it crawling on you, and this is, as I said, the director really plays on that. And so there are some scenes that were absolutely unnerving, and I just absolutely loved the direction that this movie went. So the overall complex, there is something that happens that prevents these characters from escaping, and so it's them versus the spiders, but there's a little twist to these spiders that makes it even more terrifying. And so at the start you have a creepy sense that something is off, but then as it starts to evolve, that snowball of sheer terror and primal fear really plays into effect. And I'm just so glad that I got the opportunity to see this film, and I'm disappointed that I didn't see this movie any sooner. So the overall acting was fantastic. As I said, the horror set pieces were phenomenal. It is better than Arachnophobia. I will say that this is going to end up being an absolute classic, and it's a true indication that French horror is not lost. cast. So this is a movie that I loved. Sebastian Vanecek is actually making the new Evil Dead, so that's very interesting. I'm really excited to see what he can produce in that, because if this is anything to go by, this is one of the most exciting directors to come out in a very, very long time, and it's one of the best French horror films that I've seen in a long time. So I thought the ending was great. The majority of the film was breakneck speed. It was absolutely phenomenal in its horror set pieces, a genuinely scary film, and at the same time a sympathetic film, because the character development I thought was really well respected. And so finally we get a horror film that's respecting the subgenre of spider, and it's really using the full potential of it as creating a sheer sense of panic. And so if it sounds like your kind of thing, go out there and see it. I'm going to give Infested 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Next time, watching movies, and I'll see you later.